I'm sure everybody understands at this point over the weekend, Donald Trump had to tell the entire world via Twitter that he was, in fact, a very stable genius. Well, it actually hasn't taken long for Democrats in Congress to put forward legislation for Donald Trump to basically put his money where his mouth is. Representative Brendan Boyle, a Democrat from Pennsylvania in the House of Representatives, has sponsored legislation called the Stable Genius Act that would require presidents and presidential candidates to undergo full psychiatric evaluations and mental health exams in order to run for president and in order to keep their job as president of the United States. Now, the name of this act, the Stable Genius Act, is obviously a critique of Donald Trump's tweets, but the humor in that aside, this actually is a very important and vital piece of legislation, I should say, that we need in the United States, not just because of Donald Trump. This is something that should have been put in place decades ago. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever why people seeking the highest office in the land, seeking the sole authority to launch a nuclear strike against any other country in the world, there is no reason why we shouldn't make sure that this person is mentally capable of fulfilling the job of the presidency. Regardless of Donald Trump, even if we had a Democrat in office right now, Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, it should still be required that they go through these mental health exams so that the public knows and has faith in the fact that the President of the United States is not a raving psychopath who's going to go off the rails and bomb a country off the map just because they get mad at a tweet. That's what we need as a country. We talk about security all the time. We talk about we need security on the border. We need security from Islamic terrorism. We need security from the President of the United States, regardless of their political affiliation. That's where we should start. If we want true security here in the United States, how about we make sure that our elected officials are up to par? How about we make sure that they're not suffering from some kind of disease or other mental illness that's going to put the entire country in jeopardy? That's what Brendan Boyle is trying to do here. That's what this legislation is about. Yeah, it's a dig at Trump, but it's also something that's sorely needed in this country, and I wholeheartedly support what they're trying to do here. And no, I don't think it's an invasion of somebody's privacy if we find out, their mental health, level, I guess. Because if they're seeking the highest office in the land, you're kind of giving up that privacy. We should be able to see your tax returns. We should be able to see your physical results. We should understand everything about you so that we know that you are physically, mentally, and otherwise competent, morally, ethically, all of that, to fulfill the duties of President of the United States. And that is what this legislation is attempting to do. Now, let's be real here. It really has no chance of succeeding in the House of Representatives or in the Senate because Republican control. But if Boyle just kind of saves a copy of this, and maybe if Democrats, take back the House and Senate in this coming November, I would love to see this piece of legislation be the very first thing that the House considers when they get sworn in.
He'll be out here in a minute, and I did it. It's practically a rite of passage. You have mine. There you go. And we got a hold of Melania's. It's not in this magazine, but it's coming out soon. Would you like to hear Melania's 25 things you didn't know about? 25 things you didn't know about Melania. In Slovenia, I was a catalog model, which is what you call a model you order out of a catalog. I have no first language. I hope I inspire little girls everywhere to marry for money. Oh, that's so sweet. Every time I look at my husband, I'm reminded of the Slovenian national dish. a fat greasy sausage filled with cheese. New rule, stop telling me that Q-tips are only meant for cleaning the outside of my ears and should never be stuck in the ear canal. I stick it in there and wiggle it around, and I don't care who knows it. And I'll tell you another thing, everybody does it. Jesus. Next thing you'll be telling me the loofah shouldn't go up my ass. That's right. Apple, Google, Facebook, they are essentially drug dealers. And I thought, where have I heard that before? Oh, yeah, on 60 Minutes.
You know, we're in a nicotine delivery business.
And that's what cigarettes are for.
Most certainly. It's a delivery device for nicotine.
Yep. It was never about smooth tobacco flavor. It was about the nicotine and the other drugs that cigarette makers deliberately put in to make it addictive. The moral rot in this country began when corporate America decided it wasn't enough to just successfully sell your product. People needed to be addicted to it. For example, look at these posters. Democrats, consistently one of America's top two parties. Democrats, thank you, sir. May I have another? The Democrats will never make you sick of winning. Meh. Okay. Nero, please tell me that when Trump asked these kids, hey, what's with all the ridiculous face makeup, one of them said, you first. New rule, masturbation has to get back to the basics. It's something you do alone. It's what you do when you're not with a beautiful movie star. Masturbation is sex, the home edition. If one partner does everything and the other does nothing, it's not sex. It's Simon and Garfunkel. Not fair to Artie. But there's just no rules anymore. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is your boss's niece in charge of office birthdays. But now she's the spokesperson for the most powerful man in the world. Stephen Miller is the guy who made every creepy thought you ever had 1,000 times creepier. Like when you said, let's sneak into the girls' locker room. And he said, and kill them? His job, senior advisor for policy. These are the best people. Hot dog on a stick goes through a more vigorous vetting process. Because in Trump world, the only qualification that matters is massaging his ego. You do that and you can get Trump to do anything. Just ask these guys. Cosby didn't even want his women conscious. Apparently Mark Halperin's M.O. was just to rub his erection against a woman in the office, like he's some kind of horny spider monkey who dabbles in political analysis. Someone needs to write a book called How to Behave with a Woman Like You're Not an Asshole. With chapters like, no one carrying a resume wants to see your dick. And no one wants to do it in a room where there's a coffee machine. All right, Pat Robertson claims new Ken dolls are gay. That's just inevitable. Study says weed smokers don't read studies. Yes, that's... Taylor Swift rumored to be dating new Ken doll. Oh, well. College students demand even safer space inside designated safe space. And say goodbye to the mall. Now, while you still can. Because soon, it will be a civilization gone with the wind. And then... Where will we go to eat oversized pretzels and hot dogs on a stick? Where will our teenagers go to wander aimlessly? And our elderly population to get exercise? Stars. Anyway, I've written a book. It's called The Art of the Meal. 1001 Trump fat jokes. Would you like to hear some? Okay. Trump's so fat, most of the voices most of the voices in his head are chewing. He's fat. Nobody says it, but he's fat. He gets winded riding the escalator. The same guys he sent to get Obama's birth certificate are now looking for his dick. Who was he fat? He once bragged that he moved like a bitch on Mrs. Butterworth. Oh. It's a book I have.
Bestseller.
The banks want to break him up. What? His Secret Service code name is Chris Christie. All right. Let's bring out Annabelle. She is an actress, a New York Times best-selling author. They've got some great stuff lined up. They've got seminars. Would you like to hear some of the bands that are playing at Krakatoa? Okay. Even Whiter Snake is playing there. And the Talking Hoods are terrific. MC Himmler is on the bill. Mike and the Eugenics. Men Not at Work are there. Blondie is playing there. Oh, wait, that's Milo. Earth, Wind, and Furor are... And, of course, Ted Nugent. And they also... Don't... Well, fuck, I don't even know what this is, but don't do it. And finally, a question that is asked a lot lately is, can a president pardon himself? And again, we don't know, since no one ever had the balls or the bad taste to try. Because Madison and Jefferson never thought the executive branch would fall into the hands of a mule that plays football. But Trump actually asked his staff. He said, can I pardon myself? And Steve Bannon told him, why not? I can blow myself. You have Trump, who says fake news so many times a day, it's like he has totalitarian Tourette's. A president, an American president, calling the Fourth Estate the enemy. He's also called them scum, disgusting, really bad people. And he wants to change libel laws so he can go after people who insult him and, in his words, sue them and win lots of money. He tried it with me 4 years ago to the tune of $5 million, simply because I demanded he produce, you remember this, his birth certificate and prove he wasn't part orange-haired orangutan. New rule, now that a man in Florida was shot for texting during a movie, theaters must show this PSA. Remember, no talking during the movie. Please turn off your cell phones, and if you must shoot another patron, please be courteous and use a silencer. Now enjoy the show. And finally, new rule in the battle for government giveaways. We have to stop thinking in terms of rich versus poor or black versus white and admit it's really a war between the young and the old are winning. When it comes to meeting the needs of our seniors, money is no object. Last month, for example, an Inspector General's report revealed that between 2006 and 11, Medicare spent over $172 million of taxpayer money on penis pumps. Because nobody wants to get all worked up only to go limp when the big moment arrives. Just ask the Denver Broncos. And finally, new rule, Republicans in Congress who cannot think of one single more important thing to do than investigate Benghazi for the 8th time need to either put up or shut up. Come on, guys, if this really is about the rule of law and the Constitution and Valley Forge and Omaha Beach, where Forrest Gump saved Private Ryan. If you really believe Benghazi is that serious and Obama is that big a crook, then you should impeach him tomorrow. And I wish to God you would, because it's the one thing that would make him popular again. Nurul, stop making fun of the exchange student who got stuck in a giant vagina sculpture in Germany this week. He was just an inexperienced man in a foreign land. And by foreign land, I mean vaginas, but the kid shouldn't feel too bad. How many times does an Asian guy get to say, "I was too big"? Nurul, liberal to tell a Republican, you're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts, should really just admit they've never seen Fox News. And finally, new rule, now that violent crime is at a 40-year low, someone has to explain why your local police department has gone from this to this. And finally, new rule, the Pennsylvania teenager who faces up to 2 years in jail for disrespecting this statue of Jesus must show us he's really got balls and try it with a statue of Muhammad. Oh, don't fucking start with me, because it's going to get worse right now. Actually, that's a trick question, because there are no statues of Muhammad, because if you made one, there'd be a fatwa and you'd wind up dead. Pedestrian deaths are way up because people in the crosswalk looking down are getting run over by drivers looking down. The whole damn country is constantly looking down. There is something being crushed out there, but it ain't candy. Philip Morris just wanted your lungs. The App Store wants your soul. All right, thank you very much. America, come for the fun. Stay because you got shot by a redneck. America, now under new management. America, when you just need a break from science. America, Earth's Florida. Without GameStop, how can hipsters trade their old Xbox games for weed? And without Brookstone, what will happen to women who want to publicly moan on vibrating chairs? Where will zombies attack? Where will I be able to see emotional support dogs pissing on an artificial bush? Where will I be able to get the Christian rock CDs I play to make stragglers leave my parties? And mostly, where will all the laid-off miners go to work? All right. Enablers Sean Spicer and Kellyanne Conway are the West Wing's flowers in the attic. A lunatic locked them up, and now they're crazy, too.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
Well, that's pretty good ass-kissing, but Reince Priebus, you could do better, can't you?
Well, I think the president's 100% correct, and he hits the bullseye in that tweet like he often does.
Exactly. Because who can picture Trump and not think accuracy in tweeting? New rule, moms returning this Play-Doh cake. returning this Play-Doh cake mountain toy because they're offended by its shape have to stop acting like that's the embarrassing part. The embarrassingest part is when you get home and have to explain to your kids why you have an even bigger one in the panty drawer. New rule, stop trying to create controversy when a biopic doesn't tell the whole story. It's a movie, not a murder confession. But that's the knock against three of this year's Oscar contenders. Selma, Unbroken, and Foxcatcher. They left things out. You know what you get when you don't leave things out? 19 hours of The Hobbit. It's a movie. If I want to hear every single pointless, soul-crushing detail of a stranger's life, I'll follow them on Instagram. Well, Mohamedou Slahi, the Guantanamo Bay prisoner whose published diary of torture claims that two female guards once came into his cell and said, "Today, we're going to teach you about great American sex," and then forced him to take part in a three-way, has to admit that part wasn't so bad. Just got that promotion. Dude, you're so gay. New rule, stop calling these estate sales. You live in Canoga Park, not Foxcatcher Farm. You're selling old clothes and VHS copies of the Police Academy movies to illegal immigrants. You're not Lord of the Manor. You're too cheap to donate to Goodwill. I know. New rule, Kim Kardashian must...
Oh my.
Kim Kardashian must cover that up before she really does break the internet. In Kim's latest photo spread, she appears to be outdoors, smoking with no pants on. An image that appeals to men whose sexual fantasy is catching a homeless woman taking a dump in an alley.
Is that really Kim Kardashian?
I don't know which is more embarrassing for Kim, constantly having to market her ass, or the cars lining up behind her waiting to see the drive-in movie. That's it. Big ass. If you stop at one of those dumpy casinos right over the Nevada border because Vegas is another 30 minutes away and you just can't wait that long, you have to go to a meeting. New rule, now that those two guys who climbed that mile-high rock wall are down, and the hottest thing in sports is the Tough Mudder, an obstacle course where competitors carry 200-pound logs, swim in ice water, dodge live electrical wires, and crawl through pipes full of mud. Someone must explain to me, what is wrong with white people? Bill O'Reilly and Brian Williams must co-host a new evening news program called Eyewitness News. Not eyewitness news. This is eyewitness news, where the two anchors take turns describing events they saw in photos or happened to other people. Watch Bill O'Reilly in the studio throw to Bill O'Reilly reporting from Syria, who tosses to Brian Williams, who's live in Tokyo, who then throws back to the newsroom and your host, Brian Williams. Okay, new rule, if Secret Service agents are going to get drunk and crash their car into the White House, they at least have to try to hit one of the nuts jumping the fence. I don't know what's more embarrassing, the accident itself or the fact that they were so drunk they accidentally locked their hookers in the car. New rule, if this rich creep really dressed as an old deaf woman to get away with murder, HBO has to start hounding Miso Akawa, the world's oldest woman, because I'm pretty sure she's Sheldon Adelson. No, before Amy's Kitchen recalls all their gluten-free tofu breakfast wraps because there may be listeria in the spinach, They have to tell us what listeria tastes like, because if it tastes good at all, I say leave it in. I'm glad that cities are finally taking the bicycle seriously and creating special lanes for cyclists, but they have to make them look a little less like crime scenes. I want to see where I'm supposed to ride, not what my chalk outline is going to look like after I get flattened by a texting teen in a Ford Focus. Several North Korean textbooks can claim Kim Jong-un writes musicals, won a yacht race in grade school, and learned to drive when he was 3. But they can't claim this is his picture. I mean, I don't like kids and I hate dictators, but this is adorable. I'm not even starving in North Korea and I want to eat them up. And driving at 3, that's a very young age to learn to not signal. New rule, if you make your living stalking and killing innocent animals, as professional game hunter Ian Gibson did, and you're leading a safari to kill elephants, as Ian Gibson was, and during that safari an elephant tramples you to death, good. And by the way, we know the elephant is the nobler of the two, because when the hunter wins, it's the greatest moment of his life. And when the elephant wins, it's, ew, what did I step in? Oh, the winner of Saturday night's Mayweather-Pacquiao fight has to take on Baltimore Slap Mom. And the winner of that has to fight Chug Knight's car. Nero, the Chinese zookeeper who had...
Oh, wow.
Who licked a constipated leaf monkey's anus for a full hour so the monkey could pass a peanut it had swallowed whole, has to show us the peanut. I'm not saying you plotted your whole career as a cover story so you could lick a monkey's ass. I am only saying we'd all feel a hell of a lot better if we saw the peanut. New rule: when Courtney Love is accused of not paying her bills, you can't report it as news. Courtney's psychiatrist says she owes him 48 grand, and that's just for steam cleaning the couch. Nero, now that Dennis Hastert can be added to the list of those who pushed for the impeachment of Bill Clinton, then later got busted for their own sex scandals, along with Newt Gingrich, Bob Livingston, and Henry Hyde. From now on, the 4 of them must be referred to as the impeachables. Maybe you could be in that one, too. Neural, the geniuses who just announced Apple Music, the new killer app that features professional humans instead of machines constructing real-time playlists, have to be congratulated for inventing radio. Neural, Jessica Chastain and Bryce Dallas Howard must star in a movie that answers a question I've had for a long time. What happened to those 2 little girls in The Shining? Neural, the developers of the sex doll, capable of blinking, opening its mouth, and having a conversation with you, must realize that the whole point of having sex with a doll is that afterward no one's asking you, what are you thinking? You know you're a loser when you drop 10 grand on one of these dolls and after sex it says, we need to talk. Neural, the makers of the pot of gold at the... It's real, folks. It's real. The makers of the pot of gold at the end of the Rainbow St. Patrick's Day cookie cutter have to stop wondering why the cookies come out soft. It's not you, honey. It's St. Patrick's Day. A guy has a little too much to drink. It could happen to anyone. Have a cookie. New rule, Columbia House, the 13 albums for $1 people, must not be allowed to file for bankruptcy as they did this week. They must be charged with crimes against humanity. Who will speak for the millions who were forced to buy Spandau Ballet, Men at Work, and Laura Branigan albums they did not want, or that Bruce Willis Bruno album? And who will hold to account the company that invented the long-term contract you can never get out of before Verizon and Comcast perfected it? Well, now that Idaho has had to replace their highway's mile 420 markers with ones that read mile 419.9 because potheads predictably kept stealing the signs that say 420. They have to turn it into a math problem. If a carload of stoners starts out traveling at 19 miles an hour in the fast lane and stops to giggle at the mile 69, how long before they realize they're headed in the wrong direction? You know, Fox News must capitalize on the current mood of their viewers and create their very first children's show, Anchor Babies. Laugh and learn along with Jesus, Wang, and Muhammad as they steal your hearts the way they stole their citizenship. They're adorable and they're deportable. They're adorptable. New rule, Native Americans have to concede that rain dances don't work. Look, the Southwest has no... I love the way they were like, wait a second. Are you making fun of Indians, Bill? Rain dances don't fucking work, people. My lawn is now made of dirt. I think it's time to admit that the only time dancing makes it rain is around midnight at the Spearmint Rhino. Somebody needs to tell the autocorrect in my phone that I often do use the word either and don't want to change it to wither. In fact, the only time I want to type the word wither is to write, I hope the guy who invented autocorrect lived to see his balls wither and fall. Nero, stop acting like this viral video of the rat making off with an entire slice of pizza is cute. That could have been a meal for a homeless person. And for dessert, he could have had the pizza. New rule, cut some slack to the Alabama Walmart that was selling gun oil, which is a personal lubricant used by gay men, selling it in their actual gun department. It's Alabama. You'll find their cheese nips in the Asian food section. Rule, don't leave a brother hanging. That's it. New rule, now that ISIS has opened an amusement park for kids, someone has to break it to them that their image is still going to be somewhat negative. But meanwhile, welcome to Jihad City, the angriest place on earth, where you can visit Yesterdayland, throw stones at an adulterer to win a stuffed bear, and enjoy the photo booths that are set up all over the park. Oh, wait, those are the women. New Raymond Perry, the New Mexico man accused of beating his friend to death because they were binge watching The Walking Dead, and he suddenly thought his friend was turning into a zombie, has to remind me never to watch porn with him. New rule, now that he's released his new book with this tension-filled cover pose, Donald Trump must show us the rest of the photo. New Los Angelinos have to stop freaking out about the Navy shooting off ballistic missiles. It hasn't rained here in 4 years. Anything that falls from our sky and isn't Harrison Ford is a nice change. Neural, the woman in this Australian wine ad who sets who sets the wine glass there and says, "Taste the bush," has to explain to Americans under 50 years old, what's a bush? New rule since last week. It was revealed that Winnie the Pooh is a girl, not a boy. Winnie must go all the way and come out as a lesbian. Come on, it's obvious. Her face is always buried in someone else's honeypot. See? I scared them from booing me at work. New rule. Oh, say, can you see? Yes, I can, and thanks. This is Ciara singing the national anthem this week. She sang it great, even though I totally forgot which country we were honoring. New rule, someone must tell hipsters that instead of paying over $100 for Levi's new wedgie fit jeans that are worn high around the waist and lift and separate your ass cheeks, you could just try pulling up your pants. Hillary has to stop doing this. It doesn't look like you're acknowledging someone in the crowd. It looks like you're shooting lightning from your fingertips like Emperor Palpatine. New rule. Those who hate the idea of Donald Trump becoming president must admit it would be fun watching that thing on his head turn gray. New rule, now that the city of Whitesboro, New York, is finally getting rid of its culturally insensitive logo of a white settler choking a Native American.
Oh, my gosh.
Is there anything you would like to say aisle 7 at the grocery store? New rule, somebody needs to inform me whether this sign means that this parking spot is reserved for the handicapped or reserved for the Kardashians. They have big asses. And new rule, since Donald Trump's success has caused a 1,000% increase in the Google search of how to move to Canada, we must shift our focus from a southern border wall to keep Mexicans out and start thinking about a northern border wall to keep Americans in. Oh, you Canadians are going to love it when 500,000 liberals in yoga pants swarm across your border. They won't just demand asylum, they'll also demand gluten-free pumpernickel and a job that lets them bring their dog to work.